Hey everyone, and welcome to the Giant Success Stories. Today, we're exploring the interesting world of oil and the story of the man who built one of the biggest oil companies in the world, Marcus Samuel, and the rise of Shell. You might be wondering, how does oil even become a big business? Buckle up, because this story is full of clever ideas, bold moves, and a little bit of seashell inspiration. Throughout this video, we'll uncover the key steps that led to Shell's incredible success. We'll explore how this company transformed a natural resource, oil, into a fuel that revolutionized the world. From seashells to oil, the humble beginnings. Marcus Samuel came from a Jewish family originally from Baghdad and lived in Whitechapel, London. His father, also named Marcus, ran a thriving import-export business called M. Samuel & Co. This company traded with countries in the Far East. Marcus, along with his brother Samuel, took over the family business after their father. M. Samuel & Co. played a significant role in financial dealings with Japan, including issuing loans and developing their coal trade. In 1833, Marcus Samuel, who already had a shop selling antiques in London, decided to add something new: seashells from the Far East. These shells were popular for decorating homes. The demand was so high that Marcus Samuel started importing them in large quantities, which marked the beginning of his import-export business. This business would eventually become a giant in the energy industry. When Marcus Samuel Sr. passed away in 1870, his sons Marcus Jr. and Samuel took over the company and continued to grow it. In the 1880s, they became particularly interested in selling oil from other countries. Marcus received his education in Edmonton and Brussels. Before settling into business, he traveled extensively throughout Asia, visiting places like Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Thailand, the Philippines, China, and Japan. During a trip to the Caucasus region in 1890, Marcus recognized the potential of the oil market. The following year, he secured a special agreement with the Rothschilds, a powerful financial family, to sell their kerosene, a type of fuel, in Eastern countries, the birth of a pioneering idea. Back then, oil was mainly transported in barrels. This method was inefficient. Barrels took up a lot of space on ships, leaked easily, and were expensive. Marcus, with his sharp mind for business, knew there had to be a better way. To solve this problem, the Samuel brothers built a fleet of special ships called steamers. These steamers could carry much more oil because they stored it in large compartments instead of barrels. These specially designed ships could hold massive amounts of oil in bulk, making transportation cheaper and more efficient. It was a revolutionary concept, and Marcus wasn't afraid to take a risk. These tankers were specifically made to be safe enough to pass through the Suez Canal. Shell is born, a company with a unique name. The Samuels brothers made a big change in how oil was shipped around the world. In 1892, their ship, the Murex, started using a new way to transport oil in large amounts. This bulk transport made oil much cheaper because they could carry a lot more of it at once. Standard Oil was their biggest competitor at the time. Standard Oil was known for their blue kerosene cans that people could reuse for many things after they were empty. To be different, the Samuels brothers created their own brand called Shell and painted their containers a bright red color. This strategy was successful, and by 1896, they were making more money selling kerosene under the Shell brand than from all their other businesses combined. Founded in 1897, the Shell Transport and Trading Company was a British business started by brothers Marcus Samuel and Samuel Samuel. Their family previously owned a company that sold seashells, which is where the Shell name came from. The Dutch connection. In 1901, after oil discoveries in Texas, Marcus Samuel Jr. secured a very important agreement. He won the rights to transport and sell oil from Standard Oil, his company's biggest competitor. This was a major win for his company. However, things changed quickly. By 1902, there was too much oil being produced in Texas, which caused a shortage. This meant there wasn't enough oil to transport and sell. At the same time, another oil company, Royal Dutch, was growing. They built their own ships to carry oil and started selling it in Asia. Because of these changes, half of Shell's transport ships weren't being used. In 1907, Shell's fortunes took another positive turn. The Royal Dutch Shell Group was formed by merging Shell Transport and Trading Company with Royal Dutch. This partnership brought together Shell's expertise in transportation and marketing with Royal Dutch's vast oil reserves in Indonesia. This powerful combination solidified Shell's position as a major player in the global oil industry. Royal Dutch decided to work together closely like a single company while keeping their own legal identities. This was done because of national interests in each country. Royal Dutch controlled most of the new partnership, 60%, while Shell had a smaller share, 40%. Through this partnership, two new companies were formed. Batavia Petroleum Maatschappij managed oil production and refineries. An Anglo-Saxon petroleum company took care of transporting and storing oil. Royal Dutch, based in the Netherlands, oversaw production, while the British company, Anglo-Saxon Petroleum Company, handled transport and storage from London. In 1912, the partnership bought oil assets in Russia from the Rothschild family. This increased their oil production in the East Indies, 53%, Russia, 29%, and Romania, 17%. World wars and beyond, adapting to changing times. During this time, there was a rapidly growing market for gasoline, and Shell saw this as a great chance to show how good their fuel was. They sponsored record-breaking races, flights, and expeditions. In World War I, Shell was a major supplier for the British military. They provided most of the fuel for their vehicles and airplanes, as well as a large portion of their explosives. Shell even offered all their ships to help Britain move supplies. Between the two world wars, the oil industry expanded. More and more people were driving cars, which created a big demand for gasoline, petrol. Shell played a big role this time. They provided fuel for the first successful airplane trip across the Atlantic Ocean in 1919 by pilots Alcock and Brown. Shell also made improvements in how oil was drilled from the ground. In 1929, they even started a new company, Shell Chemicals, to find new ways to make useful products from oil. When World War II started, Shell helped the Allied forces. Their office in London focused on supporting the war effort. In the United States, Shell refineries made fuel for airplanes used by the Allies. All of Shell's ships were taken over by the government to be used during the war. Many Shell employees showed great courage by keeping these ships running, including Douglas Bader. Before joining the Royal Air Force in 1939, Bader worked for Shell in their aviation department. The war also pushed Shell to develop new inventions. They made better fuels and chemicals, including special fuel for the Spitfire airplanes. The discovery of the first commercially viable offshore well in the Gulf of Mexico in 1947 led Shell to become a leader in this new frontier, with over 300 such wells drilled within 8 years. New oil reserves were found in Borneo and the Niger Delta, with production commencing in Nigeria by 1958, a legacy of innovation and global reach. In the 1960s, Shell kicked off the decade with significant oil discoveries in Oman and the Netherlands. This era also saw the company invest in supertankers, a decision that proved wise when the Suez Canal closure in 1967 affected traditional shipping routes. Recognizing the potential of new markets, Shell embarked on internationalizing its workforce and research efforts, particularly in the field of chemicals. The 1970s presented a new set of challenges. Political instability in the Middle East led to an increase in oil prices, forcing Shell to broaden its energy portfolio. Coal, nuclear power, and metals became new areas of focus, while exploration efforts increased in the North Sea and the USA. This period also marked a significant innovation. The world's first commercial gas-to-liquids, GTL plant, was built by Shell in Malaysia in 1993. The 1990s witnessed Shell's expansion into new markets like China and Russia. The turn of the millennium brought about a major restructuring for Shell. In 2005, the company reorganized its corporate structure under a single holding company. Innovation continued at a rapid pace, with Shell completing the world's largest GTL project in Qatar, 2012, and achieving milestones in deep-sea oil and gas production. Notably, 2017 saw the launch of Prelude, the world's biggest floating liquefied natural gas facility. Shell's commitment to growth continued through deals like BG Group, 2016, and a foray into renewable energy with the establishment of its new energies business in the same year. So, that's the story of how Marcus Samuel and Shell rose to prominence. The energy industry is constantly evolving, and it will be interesting to see how Shell continues to adapt and innovate in the years to come. Thanks for joining us on this journey through history. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe for more stories about fascinating businesses and the people who built them.